Hi, I'm Erin, and I'd like to say a little bit more about helping our boys to avoid becoming victims of the male loneliness epidemic or turning out to be neets. So, in a previous video, I talked about how the three pillars of leadership know thyself, control thyself, and give of thyself how those pillars are all applicable to parenting as well. And I talked a little bit about controlling thyself, so I'd like to dwell a little bit longer on that topic. Part of controlling ourselves is also controlling ourselves when it comes to the urge to say no instead of allowing our children to experience the natural consequences that come from their actions. Now, saying no is sometimes appropriate. I'm not going to say that it's not. Sometimes, for their safety, you definitely need to step in there and give them a no. And sometimes, when what they're doing is going to impact you negatively, if they're swinging their arms wildly and about to hit you in the face, you're probably going to have to say no. But otherwise, in most instances, an age appropriate sort of natural consequence is probably a better teacher than your words. So, for a very young child, I would say, a toddler, whatever, they're doing something that needs to be stopped. Redirection is often the best way to do that, just putting them in front of another activity. Because generally, when toddlers are doing something, it's because what they're doing is working. So, whatever their goal is, whether their goal is to entertain themselves, whether it's to get your attention, whether it's to get somebody else's attention, think about, try to identify what that toddler's goal is and give them another way to accomplish it. They'll generally accept the redirection. For younger children, I'd say probably 3 to 7 years old. At that point, you're going to want to try to let them experience their natural consequences as best you can. And I know that this means that they're going to get some scrapes and bumps and bruises, and you're going to be their safety net. You'll be there with open arms and empathy when they do end up bumping and bruising themselves, just to say, that's a real bummer. I'm so uh, sad that you got hurt, but I'm glad that I know that you're so resilient. I know you're such a big boy and that you're so tough and you can get up and handle it. Um, our attitude when it comes to letting our kids experience those natural consequences is so important. Having that empathy and optimism that they are resilient and that they can handle those bumps and bruises and scrapes, that's so important. Likewise, when it comes to children who are getting older, as they get into their adolescence and their preteen and even their teen years, letting them experience those opportunities as much as possible within the safety and bounds of your household is so important. It's where the costs of wrong choices is low. They can be rescued by you if really it's necessary. But otherwise, try to keep your no in your back pocket. Don't take it out so often. Even if you can see the danger coming and it's not quite so dangerous, if it's not life-threatening, if it's really not going to be life-altering in any way, let them experience it. And that also includes giving them an opportunity to use money unwisely. Let them experience buyer's remorse. Let them experience waving $1 around in the wind to show the world and having the wind just grab it and blow it away. That's the best way, I think. Better, it's going to have a longer impact than your no ever will. I can tell you that when I worked at a preschool, we had some children who would uh, use snack time as an opportunity to run around with food in their hands and in their mouths, and the food would end up being a choking hazard. They would end up, uh, smearing things around, making a huge old mess. We didn't have a janitor. And so instead of telling them no, stop getting up and running around, I let them experience the natural consequence of somebody assuming that they were done with their meal. So they got up and ran around, and I took their tray away. They would come back to their space and see that it was an empty spot, and I would tell them, "Oh, I'm really sorry. I thought you were done with your meal. You got up from the table. We only get up from the table when we're done with our meal." So they would sit down, start to eat, and they would get up and run around again. And then at that point, I would take their tray up again and just dump it. They didn't get a second chance. "Oh, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry that you didn't realize that that meant that you needed to stay seated until you were done. I assumed that you were done because I told you we only get up when we're done." So in that case, the very small child, uh, understood the natural consequence of getting up and running around. And I didn't have to deal with choking hazards. And I didn't have to deal with children throwing their food around. So try that. If you've got a super little one, try giving them a natural consequence of, if we throw our food, just take it away. With your other young children, try to let them have their natural consequence of, see, my high schooler experienced the natural consequence of not getting up for school on time by missing the bus and having to walk to school. That's just, I'm sorry. Uh, your your failure to get up on time is not going to end up being an impact on me. So um, he had to learn to control himself to get up for school on time in order to get to the school bus. Anyhow, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the topic. Let's keep talking more about how to raise our boys to be self sufficient, strong, resilient, healthy people. Have a good one.